Hello everybody, my name is Sylvain Rochon and I'm here to get people to expand their human experience using cutting-edge technology. And today I want to talk about nanotechnology specifically and a little bit about social, cultural impacts of these techs. Now, we've been doing nanotechnology for quite a while and mostly in materials, so we don't really hear about it. When we hear nanotechnology in general public, we usually think about science fiction, little robots kind of running around building things, and sometimes dangerous, sometimes very good in games. There's you have like medigels and things that are like kind of nanoparticle that kind of heal you up really, really quickly, things like that. And Star Trek, Star Wars, all these things, the midichlorians in Star Wars, for example, are kind of like organic nano creatures. But I want to talk more about the philosophy, because what we've been doing right now is not as far-fetched as what you see in science fiction, but some of it is. And we have been doing some breakthroughs in line with what people think nanotechnology is, as in like the little tiny robots that do things. We have been able to do some of that. In fact, this is the first year where people are going to hold the first nano car race. Now these are cars where the wheels are like 60 atom wide, and they're kind of on a carbon chassis, for example, and they have little wheels, little machines that make them spin, that are essentially like molecule size. It's very, very small, and the track is made out of gold with obstacles made out of atoms. Very fancy stuff, and it's a little bit hard to get to build, and a blueprint to build those, although some have been able to do that. And some have been experimenting, emerging, and kind of doing hybrid things, like using muscle on a frame of metal, and using essentially muscles as a motor to kind of create motricity and things like that. So these things have been in existence in the last few years in a fairly functional level. So we're moving towards our ability to do some of the things we've seen in science fiction with tiny robots. But also we've been using organic nanomaterials or nano machines to do things. I mentioned several videos about CRISPR-Cas9 protein complex that allows us to currently essentially replace defective genes with healthy genes. We can heal any genetic disease and do a whole bunch of other things using that kind of complex. And these were not synthetic completely. This complex was taken from bacteria and was modified. It was bioengineered to do things properly. And we've discovered recently that that CRISPR-Cas9 complex is not as precise as we thought. It does create mutations elsewhere in the genome. So we're still going to be tweaking that very, very tiny molecular machine further to make it more precise, maybe make it do other things. So we can work with biological elements, atoms, molecules, as well as the non-organic machines at this scale to get them to do very, very cool things. This is all really, it exists now. We're on the cusp of a revolution of nanotechnology, meaning in this case the little tiny robot machines. And we've also been able, and I've read this a couple of months ago, maybe in February. There's even a company in Stockholm, Sweden, that have implanted all their workers, about 2,000 of them, with little microchips in their hands that contains tiny little machines, mechanical machines in this case, where they can use the machines to kind of wave their way into secure areas and things like that, and that's unique to them. And so they're essentially cyber workers in a way, because they all have a little bit of a technology implanted into them that does certain things, and they can, the company, if they want, and the employees and the laws are in agreement, they can even extend the use of that microchip to include, checking the glucose level, checking if a person is alive or sick or things like that, where they are located in the building, are they in or out of the building, and all sorts of detection stuff like that. And it emits out data that can be captured by Wi-Fi or radio frequency. So it's really, really interesting stuff. Now, since we're starting to get into that realm of nano and making efficient and actual practical tiny machines that can be inserted and used inside the body or very tiny spaces in the water where you can't, they're so small you can't see them in some cases. We have to think about where does this lead us exactly, because we're going to get good at it. And just like 3D printing has gotten pretty interesting at creating materials, we're probably going to be able to 3D print some of these tiny machines at some point. And these tiny machines, because we're able to make them move using tiny organic or artificial synthetic materials. We're able to give them jobs or make them do things. We can very well foresee being able to have little tiny robots able to construct and build. So we're able to build the robots using 3D printing technology, and the robots themselves can move themselves around, move material around, and build more robots or repair things or build other things, just like the CRISPR-Cas9 complex is able to repair certain things. We're moving in that direction where tiny little things can be used to heal, cure, build, disassemble, because that's also practical in many cases, especially for pollution in the environment. You can disassemble all the pollution, make it healthy and clean again. Either repurposing some of the currently existing living materials or organic stuff, or making it organic, mechanical and synthetic, or a hybrid of both, because we've been doing both. And of course, in my personal opinion, thumbs up to all of the above, because really all that I've mentioned is all good for humanity, and it can be used for really cool things. And just like anything else that is technological, it also brings up a point where, are we ready for this? Because there's still a bunch of forces out there that want to convert any kind of technology into a potential weapon. Because you can imagine things that are at a nanoscale and that are able to reproduce themselves, for example, in the next few years by building more. These can be used to disassemble things that shouldn't. Like life, people, buildings. Like imagine a nano-robot soldier, I guess you could call it, that can reproduce itself using the materials at hand and that only targets the living. So you can decimate a whole city of people without any kind of collateral damage to the infrastructure. That's powerful if you're thinking nasty. And we want to avoid any kind of application that would do exactly that, of course, because just like this technology can be powerful enough, because you can these are small enough to go into blood cells, to go into other cells, into veins and arteries. These are great to assist healing and doing all sorts of wonderful things, and to build things from the inside out instead of the outside in, like we do normally. Awesome stuff. We can engineer paradise using technologies like this in the near future, but we can also destroy everything and create more conflicts, more jealousy, and more fear if it's developed by the wrong people. So socially and psychologically, we need to be ready, and everybody needs to be on board with this, to be completely and utterly against any kind of development of these technologies that would be damaging to anyone for any reason. And that includes us, the Americans, the Chinese, whoever. We need to consolidate as a people, and we need to be ready to say, no, we can't go in that direction, even as a deterrent and all this bullshit. It has to be banned. And everybody agree that this is bad. We can't use this technology for destructive and death, unless it's to, of course, disassemble things and, like in a practical way, in a good way, right? As in environmental cleanup, maybe replace an old building with a brand new one. You need to restructure things. There's a line. that we can't cross. We already are on that line on the case of nuclear weapons. Some people have it, some people don't. We all agree that it's bad to use nuclear weapons, and yet we still have them. A lot of countries have. I think there's 7 or 9 countries that have them, either officially or unofficially. So it's a social choice, and it's a choice of the people, every one of us, to say, hey, okay, great to developing this technology and allow us to do it, because we can't really stop technology, but we cannot decide to develop this technology to anything that can be destructive. And the farther along we will be in technology and development, the more true that statement will be, because we're going to get into way more practical and basic kind of research and technology, and at the same time, it also can be very, very basic death if it's developed in the wrong way. So, it's up to us to make a decision and make sure we speak out to our leaders that this is unacceptable. And on the other hand, all the good stuff is entirely acceptable and should be encouraged. Innovation, funding, and encouraging, so that we can have a great life and we can be in harmony with nature and with each other at a totally different level. And that is absolutely awesome. So that's what I'm aiming for. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. I hope that I put some thought into your head about and give you some pause. And I hope you can share. And if you like what I described here, like, please write me a comment and subscribe to the channel. I do this every week. And for now, I'm just going to say goodbye and wish you a great 1st of July, which is Canada Day, and a great 4th of July, Independence Day in the States. And if you have other celebrations to celebrate, well, happy that as well. Ciao for now.